Okay, well, it's recording. So this is AntiBullshitMan, the guy who's an asshole,
This
and
time
me.
you have an actual introduction. You're not just going to pick me up at the end.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Okay, so this is what I want to do this time around. Hopefully we can be a bit more structured. Although I don't think we should be too structured because then it'll just be strangled into one single issue. So I do want it to be flowy, but maybe flowy in a bit more of a constrained way. So I'll have a few disclaimers right off the bat. Then I'll let you, if you want to make some disclaimers before we get into it. And then I've got a few bullet points. I didn't get a chance to take nearly as many bullet points as I wanted to. Partly because I honestly, when I'm watching your videos, I don't know where to start. Especially, I'll tolerate reading mid-paragraph. Like picking up from mid-paragraph, but I cannot tolerate mid-sentence onwards. Like when you read stuff I write and you start mid-sentence onwards, I don't know where to begin with the counter-criticism. So, yeah, so I'll do a few disclaimers, and then if you want to do a few disclaimers yourself, that's fine. First things first, am I still blocked?
Probably. Yeah, you know.
That, if you want to keep doing critiques in video form, that should probably change.
Well, you know, either way, you prefer text, I prefer videos. I'm not going to respond to text comments, so what do you want me to do? Delete your comments then? I mean,
Well,
would
no,
you prefer I do that? Because I'm not gonna waste my time typing. Look at the threads, okay? There's one going on one of my videos now. You know, they're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I'm like, what is this crap? Nobody's reading it. It's a waste of time. It's just, you know, people who will never convince each other of anything, and it's just all this back and forth. And so I'm not gonna spend. I mean, for me, typing's a lot more trouble. Okay, I mean, I know it's.
But whether we don't convince ourselves of anything while we're exchanging ideas in text or in video, that doesn't mean that the exchange shouldn't take place.
Well, I'm not saying it's not that. You know, I'm just saying that you can post your text, obviously, on your blog, okay, and then I can respond to it in video. But if I let you post your text on my video, then I'm the one who's obligated to answer it because it's on my video. Well, it's on my video. I can't just let it sit there.
Just the way I'm not obligated to do a video response to you, you're not obligated to respond to anything.
Well, I am if I'm going to let you get away with it. You know, otherwise I got to respond to it.
Whoever gets the last word doesn't imply correctness. So you can just say that it's too preposterous to respond to or something. But it is kind of bullshit to do continuous videos. See, I thought when you deleted that comment and when you blocked me, I thought that we were going to settle the rest of the sections in live exchange. And especially if you're having trouble reading, because I know in the last video you said that some of the blog was blacked out. If you want, if it's a pain in the ass for you to read this stuff, I can do an audio version of it. I can just read the whole thing from start to finish. And I think that would probably be more productive. And maybe we can settle it in live videos, in a live video exchange, as opposed to a ongoing videos. Because let me tell you, I don't see how you can only start reading stuff mid-sentence and then think that you're going to get the context of the argument. And if I can't comment there to point out the full context, it's just a completely useless undertaking to do the videos.
Well, we're just going to end up arguing back and forth about, you know, whose style is the preferable style of communication. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to say I would prefer to go all video than to bother with any text, but that's just my style.
How about this? You unblock me, and as I'm criticizing the video, I will do some sort of a, may I criticize you, your majesty type demeanor, and then maybe you won't find me nearly as obnoxious. I'll be a lot more diplomatic and a lot more humble in my counter critiques of your videos.
Well, okay, I will see how it goes. But I mean, it hasn't been your habit. That's all. I mean,
I don't think you only block me because of that. Because you have this wild, almost Freudian theory that my motivation behind all of this is in some way malicious. So in my view, there's no real point in any of this until I can get you to concede that my motives are not this hidden. I don't even know what you think, okay? So let me just spell it out, okay? The 4-year-old video exchange on the subject of circumcision, I never even think about. The only time I'm reminded of that is when you point it out. Your theory somehow that this is the underlying motive for my critique.
Well, it's a joke motive, okay? I'm not sitting here saying that, you know, I'm just saying that we ended up disagreeing on a couple of subjects, okay? So obviously it wasn't just circumcision, it was also the voting thing. You know, we disagreed about whether we could have an IQ test for voting, and so that was a little bit of contention between us. And then there was some other issue after that. Maybe it's this, you know, absolute value crap I talk about that you don't like or something, or this absolute truth thing or whatever it was. But I'm just saying, we have these like 3 or 4 issues. We end up getting fights about it and end up getting a little nasty. And so that's the, I'm just using that as the explanation for why you've decided to try to make me look like an asshole somehow. And that's what that's what it comes off as. I mean, you can say it doesn't, that's not your intention. I'm just saying that's what other people are going to use it for. They're going to say, oh, anti-bullshit man, you know, made a mockery of inmendham, and inmendham was totally killed, and all this kind of crap. So that's the purpose they're going to use it for.
One of the reasons I migrated to the blog is because I know on YouTube you've got a lot of, should we say, oh, jeez, I don't want to use the word haters, but for lack of a better term, haters, and I don't want high fives from them, so I want to migrate to a medium where I'm not going to get that crap. So that was part of it. That's not certainly all of it, but part of it is I don't want to do the YouTube video exchange, because then we're just going to have a lot of the baggage that comes from the fact that you have these people. Anytime someone makes a video about you, you know about that. There's these people who always show up to comment negatively, and to be truthful, I don't want to associate with them, but I don't want to block them either because I don't block. So that aside, I just need to spell out my motives. Motive number 1, you spend a lot of time, more than any other person on the internet, you spend all this time talking about how no one has the backbone to deal with any of the arguments you put forth. If you hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have written up the post. The second reason is you are sort of the face of antinatalism on YouTube, and I have major grievances with a lot of your recurring statements.
Yeah, well, we know that there's this, whatever they are, this handful of premise issues that are going to at the core of this thing. I don't know whether determinism is one of them or not. But
no, see, that's another thing. You read someone else's comment for 15 minutes in your monkey see, monkey read, do video, and that person was sort of ragging on materialism and determinism. You thought you were responding to me because that person had my name, my screen name, at the top of his comment because he was responding to me. You spent 15 minutes thinking that I was leaving.
No, I don't think I did that. I think that was the last comment on the thing, and I commented to it, that Dr. whatever his name is.
Yeah, watch the monkey see, monkey redo video. You did, for 15 minutes, think that I was the one making the comment. And I commented from AntiBullshitMan pointing out that I wasn't.
Well, I know you commented that you weren't, but I'm just saying I think I understood that these were separate comments. I think I made it clear in the video that this is a different guy that I was responding to.
Well, you watched the video, you even made the floppy foreskin comment to him, so it was clear you thought it was me. But regardless, okay? Yeah, so that's the context. I just want you to know that my motives do not stem from a 4-year-old video exchange, which I don't even recall until you bring up. So that, like, if you can't concede that, then I don't know what else to do, because you're always going to think that I have some alternative motive, and I don't.
Well, I don't think you have. Well, but whatever. I'm just saying that obviously, so when somebody writes, a zillion word, diagram dissecting you, essentially, and dissecting me, and there's a lot of personal shots in that diagram of the subject, and so I'm just saying.
Give me one personal shot.
I'll call it a personal shot in the sense of a claim of intellectual dishonesty, claims of manipulating other people's psychology. A lot of claims of yours goes to my motives. And the integrity or truthfulness of what I'm saying in some ways.
There's some internal inconsistency, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the motives are malicious. But there is a degree of internal inconsistency. So just to point out once again is that I never disputed in my life materialism or determinism after I learned about determinism. So you read that person's comments, you attributed those positions to me because you thought it was me. So I just want to publicly point out, I don't dispute materialism and determinism. So, also never ragged on you over reductionism. In one of the recent videos you said I did. My whole post, at no point did I use
Well, you called it the fallacy. You called it the logical fallacy of simplicity.
Well, what section?
What section? I don't remember what section, but I mean, come on. It was like, yeah, one of the last 4 sections. You called it and To Be Serious made the video. So I'm just saying that To Be Serious has already made a video where she defends the fallacy of simplicity, which is just so silly because you can't have a logical fallacy claiming that somebody's too simple. You know, somebody's provided too simple an explanation, because obviously you'd have to. It's not a logical fallacy. It's just a fallacy of excess. You can't use something that's done in excess and call that a logical fallacy. Logical fallacies are intrinsically flawed, not flawed by degree. So anything that's flawed by degree would not be a logical fallacy.
I'm trying to think back. I can't recall the section. Maybe you can pinpoint it to me once we finish the call. Another disclaimer I have is that I never said you wanted to kill old people specifically. I said that you typically use old people, seeing as how you have worked in old folks' homes, and you use them and you say that somehow the number of I'd rather not have been sentiments increases the older you get, and then you get into the deathbed thing, right? And I'm just pointing out that even if it did increase with age, modern day current preferences should not be overturned just because future preferences may change with time. And the same goes for the anti-suicide crowd who want to keep euthanasia illegal, right? They argue from the standpoint that the person might change their minds down the road, therefore we got to do from their perspective, fail safe and keep.
But that's a might that's always going to be contingent on brainwashing or something else, where the argument from old people will, generally speaking, have more context with age, is sort of a guarantee. You're guaranteed to have your better perspective when you've played the whole game. So the riding the horse experience isn't the riding horse experience if you never experienced the getting off the horse kind of argument. So if getting off the horse is always going to be a disaster, that has to be part of the context. So I'm just saying there's nothing intrinsic about the suicide's decision that's going to be fundamentally suspect because it's some sort of incompleteness, okay, where you know the incompleteness of the I haven't died yet, so how the fuck can I know what dying's like?
Okay, but I just wanted to relay to you that, because initially you said that I criticized you specifically for wanting to kill old people. That wasn't the criticism. Now, in terms of age equals wisdom, you can also make the counterpoint that due to us existing amid cultural propaganda, the more propaganda you expose yourself to as the decades go on, you can get even more intellectually bankrupt with age, especially when the senile factor kicks in. But regardless, another disclaimer I have to make is that you, on a couple of instances, said that I'm silly for saying fully grown adults. Now, seeing as how I said sound-minded adults so many times, I have to get a little creative because I don't want to sound like I'm using the same word too many fucking times. So I just change it to fully grown adults, but that's basically what it implies. Maybe it's regional, maybe in New Jersey that's not what it means, but here, fully grown simply means sound-minded. So I didn't just mean like I wouldn't let midgets make the determination for themselves. When I say sound-minded, when I say fully grown, basically the two are a placeholder for each other. So that's just another disclaimer,
Well, I know, but it still doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm just saying that as a standard, it doesn't mean anything. Obviously, age doesn't mean anything. It's a completely irrelevant standard. So you have to go by some other standard of competence. And that's the interesting question. What is the competency test, right? Is there such a thing as a competency test? And can we challenge each other and say, what really is reality to some extent, what has some hope of being in the realm of reasonable, and what beliefs are so delusional, so crackpot silly, that they are going to disqualify your judgment?
Well, I would say that there are basic facts, and then there are facts which you can only really pick up at the, I guess, post-secondary level. So in terms of being able to live out your life and think that you've made a competent decision, I can't give you an exact list of facts, obviously, but I think just sound-minded entails that you understand your biological makeup, you understand that you are the product of evolution, and you understand that, I guess, we can put unintelligent design on top of that. You accept those facts, and you understand that, or let's just say that somebody listens to your ethylism videos, and from a factual standpoint, says that you didn't make any errors, any factual errors in those videos, whereas they would only disagree with you on the specific conclusions you draw. But factually, the facts you start from, they disagree with, or they do agree with. So as long as they accept those facts, I would say sound-minded.
Right, well, that's obviously not going to be somebody else's definition of sound-minded, right? So, I mean, yeah, well, obviously I'll agree with that definition because it excludes all the religious kooks, all the unicorn chasers, all of them are out of luck. Professor Anton's out of luck, you know.
I don't watch his videos, so I wouldn't be able to know either way. I don't think he's a religious.
Well, I mean, he is in the essence that he believes in, like, words or God or something. I mean, he doesn't believe in well, you can't even say he doesn't. You know what I mean? These people who, they won't explicitly say anything. They imply that there's no determinism, but yet they'll say, well, yes, it's deterministic, but it's determinism plus. You know, and you don't know what the plus is. You know, what's the plus exactly?
I don't know. I'd have to watch their videos to find out. You ragged on me for ragging on Gladiator Wars, so I'll just point out that the problem with Gladiator Wars is strictly when you imply it, or when you apply it to humans interacting in a societal context, as opposed to strictly wildlife. So if you want to describe wildlife as Gladiator Wars, fair game, but if you want to apply it to humans, then no, because by definition it is. We do exist under civilization. So that's the only problem I have with Gladiator Wars being applied to what we do on a daily basis.
Well, I think it's a minor distinction in terms of the whole of life's existence. So we're only, our civilization is a minor part of Earth's history. But even beyond that argument, I'd still say our civilizations are incredibly warlike in the sense that it's just gang war. Instead of an individual gladiator, it's race war, it's money war, it's prestige war, it's a lot of other kinds of elitism war, whatever you want to call it. Aristocrat war.
When you say gladiator, it entails violence, right? Implicit violence underpinning there. When you say
it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for winners and losers. So I mean, if you want to call it, if you don't want to consider it violence, don't want to consider slavery violence because it's not overtly violent necessarily to maintain, because the extortion becomes just the threat of violence. The threat of punishment.
I would agree that any society that practices slavery can be close to gladiator wars, but in the West, that's not the norm. That's not part of the parcel. So,
what if I have a situation where I'm just basically extorting people because of their poverty? So, okay, I import people. I give them no opportunity to have without coming to me to gain the have coupons. Okay, and then I give them a tiny number of coupons for the work they have to do. So they have to work all day to get a peach coupon. And because there's other starving people, I can extort them. I could just say, you either accept this deal or die.
Okay, but surely you would agree with me that poverty is not a one-size-fits-all in terms of the cause behind it. So there are systemic causes to poverty, and then there are, in some instances, okay, a lot of liberals would probably want to deny this, but there are, in many instances, personal responsibility perpetuation-related reasons behind poverty. So when we're dealing with personal responsibility or irresponsibility, like, for example, when you typically point out that people procreate, even though that they are too poor to do so, you can't blame that on the culture or the society itself. It's not a systemic causation of poverty. It is recklessness of the individual himself or herself that causes the poverty. So in that context, gladiator wars will not apply because the person is being irresponsible and perpetuating their own.
Yeah, I would just argue that I don't think there's ever been a circumstance where that's really been the cause of the substance of the poverty. That's a minor part of the poverty, and it's usually in because we don't take care of people who are mentally ill and incompetent in the first place. We don't prevent it, because we don't take control of people who are too stupid. Okay, they're too stupid to have ownership of their sexuality and too stupid to have the rights they've been afforded.
So in terms of systemic problems versus personal irresponsibility problems, what percentage of poverty would you attribute to the two? How would you split that up as a binary?
Well, I think I don't know what the exact number. I don't know how to parse it up. I'm just saying it's much worse now than at any other point, just because now, yeah, the initiative isn't there, okay? I mean, it was in the past that you could get menial labor jobs and you could support yourself on that job. You know, you could work at Dairy Queen or something and you could live in a house and have a life. And you can't do that anymore. So the poverty does have a different kind of ugliness to it, where you can't just learn a profession and have a life now, you know.
Would you say the Norwegian nations have a sort of societal makeup that it would be fair to equate it to gladiator wars?
No, because the society is so different. You know, it's all one race, substantially. And they are starting to import problems, so they're starting to feel reality is starting to bite them in the ass now, too. But yeah, you don't have the same kind of dichotomies of city folk, rural folk, you know, these kind of animosities and desperate interests. They're different interests. Where in America you do. You have the Bible Belt versus the, you know, New England socialcrats, you know, versus the, you know, West Coast, beatniks.
There's political resentment and conflict, but it does not necessitate gladiator wars as an analogy to describe it. Even if you want to say a metaphor, right? It's really stretching it. Wouldn't you agree? It's really stretching it to say that in some way gladiator war is somehow gleans insight. You hear gladiator war to describe these political conflicts, and somehow that's going to resonate with people. I'd say that's stretching it.
Well, I'm just going to argue, I suppose, in the end there is a demographic that's winning and a demographic that's losing. So I'd say worldwide the demographic that's winning is ignorance and stupidity and religious kookery, and the demographic that's losing is erudite, intelligent, logical, sensible, all those good things, because that demographic isn't going to buy Google ads. So I mean, even I think it goes into all these different. You're not gonna have what you don't subsidize, as I often say, and we're not subsidizing, you know, the finer attributes of human, you know, production. We're subsidizing the most base, the stupidest, the most disgusting, cruel. I think we're going to go back to. We might go back to dog fights, and we might go. Look what we got now.
That's if one thing blows up. That's not because of a systemic downward spiral. That's because one nut job or a few nut jobs can get their hands on some sophisticated weaponry and make use of it. And pretty much.
No, I'm just saying I'm just saying the degrade of the culture. Look what's on TV. Ghost shows. You got real shows now, right? Instead of banning boxing like they should have done decades ago, you now have boxing where they actually kick each other's teeth out. So and they're happy to do it. So I'm just saying that we're degrading. Damn, Skype is failed. I'm gonna have to reload my Skype.
You're frozen.
Yeah.
Well,
Skype is sucky. Skype is sucky. We all know it. It's proof. I've proved that Skype sucks. So anyway, get back to me. I'm tired. Let's see, where the hell is AntiBullshitMan? He's gone. Where'd he go? AntiBullshitMan's gone. Look, he's not on the list. Oh, he's over here. Okay, disabled. I don't care. Just quit telling me something's disabled. I don't want to hear this shit. Video call. Why can't you video call Skype? What are you, retarded? How come it's disabled video call? There it is. Okay. There we go. Alright, we're back.
that my fault too again?
I don't think so. Yeah, no, I mean, whatever. I mean, my computer doesn't like Skype. Apparently it's crashing for some reason, but it's okay.
Okay, so we took... damn, I'm hearing myself now.
Yeah, well, I guess you broke your Skype. I don't see your video yet. Well, let me kill the phone. That's possible. Come on, this is bullshit. I'm paying for a damn good connection. Give me this crap. Allow all. Okay, it's not a firewall problem. Down, 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 down. What else can I cut off here? Close the mail program. That might be a good idea. Get rid of that. And then we'll just hang up the call. Call again. Call again, please. Damn it. Yes, fuckers. What is going on? What's your problem, Skype? Close the phone. Yeah, I can't answer it. Hello?
Yeah?
I didn't even answer it, but cool. It answered.
Yeah, I don't know. We're having less luck this time.
Yeah, it's alright. Whatever.
So we wasted... Well, we didn't waste. It was kind of decent, but I was hoping...
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny. Like plague is funny. Reload this again. And kill Skype. Yeah, I want to quit, you motherfucker, because you're working like a piece of shit. I want this thing to close, too. I don't know why I can't close this goddamn phone. You know, it gives you all these damn choices, but doesn't give you the choice to just close the fucking software. Fucking bastards. Yeah, you can exit out all day and it won't do me any good. Alright, where was I? Okay, video, Skype. I just haven't been using Skype on this computer, so that's why everything's a little bit not very efficient. Skype home is unavailable. Why is Skype home unavailable? Why is that? Alright, reload the Skype again. We'll see what happens.
What the hell? Why? Why this time?
Yeah, I have no clue. I mean, you know, it's I have a recording of it, so we can send it to Skype and complain. You don't have any video again, though, so I don't know whether that's I don't know whether my Skype is blocking it or whether you're just not feeding it.
Well, I'm getting a bit of feedback from myself too, which is really obnoxious. Still no video of me?
Yeah, but it's okay.
Okay. Well, I suppose the last thing I just want to bring up as a side issue, if somebody were to come along and tell you that they would donate money to a animal shelter, if they got you to, for instance, change your screen name from inmendham to something demeaning, would you do it?
Well, I don't know. You're not saying me how much money it's going to be, and I don't know about animal shelters, to tell you the truth. I mean,
well, let's say you pick the cause. You pick some real suffering.
Okay.
That can be alleviated, but the person who has to make the donation is going to have you do something demeaning to yourself, but that doesn't cause any real harm. That's just going to be a negative side effect of your psychology. Like, you're going to have to humiliate yourself, but realistically, seeing as how you said your own psychology is bullshit, then really these people can make you do whatever you want as long as you know that as compensation they will be donating money to a cause you deem worthwhile. Would you do that then?
Sure.
Sure?
Yeah, in most cases. I mean, you didn't. I mean, without specifics, it's almost impossible to say what I would actually how far I'm going to let you shove a stick up my ass, but I'll let you shove it pretty far.
Well, let's say just a YouTube screen name. Would you change inmendham to ad nauseum if it meant I would have to donate money to a cause that you deem worthwhile?
Yeah, I guess I just have to be able to measure what the cause is and how much money it is and whether it's worth it. So I don't know. You know, it's hard to measure that stuff, isn't it? I mean, how do I measure it? You know?
Well, I'm sure that at some point you've been thinking about suffering your whole life. I'm sure that at some point you've actually looked into some real causes that can have a hands-on positive effect and actually reduce real suffering in the world.
No, I haven't really.
You've never looked into a hands-on cause that's going to alleviate suffering.
I haven't heard of any. I haven't seen any.
Okay, because
I mean, have you ever heard of Kill the Whales? I've never heard of Kill the Whales.
So
it's always save something. It's always save something. That's why, like, I mean, even the animal rights people, like PETA and the rest of these people, you know, yeah, I'd rather they just put. I like it when they euthanize animals. That's the way to go. And they get yelled at when they do that. When they euthanize animals, everybody gets mad at them.
Okay, but that's the maximal aim. Okay, so if we can't convince them to do that, I'm sure that some money will do some good as opposed to no money. Right?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, okay, so they have that thing where they pay people to get sterilized in Britain. There was some group that did that. So yeah, that's a good cause. But then the argument is, do they have any realistic hope of having any impact? And the real game is you got to win the end in the end. And so just having players that are really good at running up and down the field doesn't matter if you're going to lose the game. So, I mean, I still have to measure the impact, but I'm just saying, I guess inmendham is not a critically important screen name, realistically, so I guess it's pretty sacrificable for a pretty small amount of money, I guess.
Okay, well, we'll follow up on that. It can be reduced to absurdity, though. I mean, the moment you say that any amount of suffering is going to compensate any amount of psychological discomfort, seeing as how psychology is bullshit, and pride is bullshit, and anything you put into that pile, that notions in the head pile, seeing as how all of it is bullshit, realistically, somebody can listen to what you're saying and apply your own strict janitorial standards to make you pretty much their slave, their clown, as long as they keep contributing money to these worthwhile causes, right? That's basically what you're saying is the end conclusion of your philosophy.
Yeah, again, but again, the end conclusion of the philosophy is winning the game. So it does have to, add up in some respect, because you're not going to win the game by these token, vegetarianism is not going to win the game. So I'm not going to compromise a whole lot to make vegetarians. I just think people should be vegetarians, which is a good idea. But I wouldn't waste a bunch of resources on being a vegetarian or getting other people to be vegetarians when that's not really the big game. That's the little game.
Okay, but even the little game, if the price is just your comfort and your pride, right? Any plus is a plus, no matter how small.
Well, I guess it depends. You're saying my comfort. I don't know. I mean, how much? I'm pretty miserable already, so I don't think I can afford to give up much comfort. I mean, that's sort of, what the fuck does that mean? I mean, pride. I don't know about pride. Pride is also a tricky one. I mean, how much of that can you give up before you got, there's got to be something that keeps you alive. So I'm just saying, you want to, like I said, I don't mind doing some tricks. I don't mind jumping through some hoops, but you have to have hoops that aren't going to degrade me in such a way as that, I'm going to get depressed, or I'm going to be, I'm not going to have the strength to go on, kind of thing.
Okay, so let's, do you have some disclaimers before we venture off into some of the sections?
I don't care. Yeah, no. I need to disclaim nothing. Yes, I have nothing to, go into cross the border. I have nothing to declare.
Not even an apology for the fact that you read someone else's comment for 15 minutes and attributed positions to me.
Yeah, well, I'm not exactly sure. I have to go back and look at that. 15 minutes. It's only 15 minutes of a 30 or 40 minute video, so I guess you shouldn't cry too much about that. But anyway, yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry if I read the wrong, guys. It seemed look like your comment. I guess you're saying he wrote it just like.
Maybe a little speech bubble on the video saying that from here until here, it's not Anti-Bullshit-Man's comment. Just that much. Because I didn't see any of your commenters point that out to you, and I'm like, do they actually think that it's my comment? I hope not. In any event, going back to the vouchers versus orphanages, I don't accept this sudden condition that I'm only allowed to criticize you over issues for which you've created separate YouTube channels. Now, is that fair? that I should be allowed to criticize you?
No, but I'm just saying it's got to be proportional, though. You make it sound like I proposed orphanages as one of my grand solutions to problems, like I sat back and I made a solution and blah, blah, blah. And nothing like that took place. Orphanage was just... I just said it off the top of my head in a stickam one night. Somebody fucking forced me to come up with a solution. I said, well, why don't we just make better orphanages? And then when I heard myself say, why don't we make better orphanages, I said, damn, that's a good fucking question, isn't it? Why don't we have better orphanages?
Well, it's been a recurrent statement for a couple of years now, so even though there's no YouTube channel about it, I think it warrants its own section. So, and in my view, it's very simple, because even if couples abide by the voucher program, they can still fail to provide for the one minor should the minor's education and healthcare costs be decollectivized as you advocate that they should be. So there's no division between the orphanages and the voucher program. Even with the voucher program, there would be a necessity for the orphanages, seeing as how couples who do abide it, once you decollectivize education and healthcare, there would still be a problem, because they wouldn't be able to cover it.
Well, like I said, I think there's always going to be a problem in forcing people to pay the real freight for having kids, because obviously the people having kids are people who have no hope of doing that.
Yeah,
so obviously it's a non-starter for. I mean, you win the extinction war as soon as you argue for people paying for having their kids. But I'm just saying, as a humane issue, as a civilization issue, even if our civilization isn't going to end in 500 years, let's say it was going to survive, I'm saying I think it would be really in our civilization's interest to have good orphanages. You can't spend the money better than on good orphanages, in my opinion.
And just going back to the root of this dispute that started everything, and I'm really hating this feedback I'm hearing of myself, but anyway...
I don't hear it here, so the recording is good. So if you can tolerate it, it's okay here.
You called it a straw man, and then when I contested that, you ended up calling me lying scum or something of that sort. And I'm just pointing out that it's not a division between the two. Now, if you say that these costs should remain collectivized, then okay, I can see. The couples who do abide by the voucher system do get to use quote-unquote other people's money to have their kids raised and maintain their health of their kids. So in that context, yes, but that's not the context you apply to it. So even though you can have a successful voucher system, orphanages, the way you phrase the issue, would still be an issue. Now, there's the other problem that I have, which is that I guess what I need is really a citation from you, because you made a few statements that I just find I've never heard prior to this response you gave me.
Well, okay, before you go to the next thing, let me just answer what you just said a little bit, because I'm still going to argue that you're the one worried about this collectivization crap, okay? I'm saying just let me finish. I mean, I'm arguing, okay, I'm arguing for antinatalism. These are secondary issues to me. Who pays for civilization, okay? I mean, I personally think, yes, people should pay for what they impose on society. We both know that I support smart people voting and not dumb people. But I've also pointed out that pragmatically, you can't do that. So I'm just saying that I know pragmatically, no matter what system you come up with, if you come up with a system that's completely draconian, says that all subsidies for child procreation are to be ended, that you're not going to get. So I'm going to argue that I'd rather have the orphanages publicly subsidized than not to have them, because you're not going to be able to get the poor to pay for them.
So in terms of private adoption as an alternative, you said that it's just going to increase the likelihood of the adopted minor being molested. I'm just wondering...
I didn't say it was going to increase the likelihood. It doesn't have any parents at all. No, I didn't. I said no such thing. I said that adoptive parents are often selfishly motivated, and they certainly may get they certainly may get molested in foster care. I think foster care is a disaster. As soon as you pay people to take kids, okay, what happens is people think it's a way to make money. I can make money by raising kids, and so they become farmers. Okay, they're human farmers. Now, that I think you don't want to have happen. So you don't want to subsidize adoption because you're basically going to be paying people to do something you don't want to pay people to do.
Have you read any studies on this? Any statistical evidence of what's best for the minor from the standpoint of communal upbringing versus private adoption upbringing?
Well, communal is, again, I'm not going to argue some Soviet Union style communism and have. Well, you did. You sit there kibbutzes. You gave me kibbutzes as the example. I wouldn't raise kids in a frickin' laundry room on the floor, playing with Tinker toys. So well, I don't think an orphanage means communal living. Okay, I wouldn't have them communally living. I'd have them living in an organized frickin' Disney World style society. That means they have responsibilities, and that means they have rights, and they have their own little bathroom, and they have their own little room, and they have their own little life, and they're not living in some dorm with 700 other kids.
There would be no nuclear family for them.
They don't need a nuclear family, in my opinion, but they do need a life that has adults that give them good role models and give them encouragement. So, yeah, they would have that. They would have adults who provide inspiration and encouragement and discipline.
So, in a lot of respects, the social safety net would be increased for the specific kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying, I think it'd be more efficient in the end than giving the money to crack whores. Yes. Yes, it would.
So
yes.
You said you made the claim that most kids are living on food stamps right now. Do you have reliable evidence for that claim?
Yeah, we'll go look that one up. Yeah, yes, there's 41 million people on food stamps. And
I'm saying globally. Do you have evidence that most kids are living on food stamps?
Well, globally, I don't think there are food stamps globally. There's UN food, though, and I would argue that most of the countries that have the highest reproductive rates are living on UN food. Afghanistan, Iraq, and they're all living on UN. Egypt, they're living on UN food.
Let's take the developed world. Amid the developed countries, the average minor is not living on food stamps.
Well, I'm just saying, you're changing the goalpost, as you would argue, right? The developed world. Well, I wasn't talking about the developed world. I was talking about America, and I was talking about the fact that most American kids are being raised in poverty.
There's 41 million people on food stamps altogether. It does not entail that most minors, by most...
But I'm just saying, the people on food stamps are the dumber ones, and they're the ones having all the kids, so you're not getting it. There's a higher proportion of child production within that 41 million. So maybe 30 million of that 41 million is kids.
Maybe is the key word there. So
well, I'm just saying, I don't have the statistic, but I have seen the statistic, and it's over 50% of children are being raised below the poverty line.
In America?
Yes.
Citation.
Well, again, go Google it, fuckhead. I mean, I don't have a citation. Go Google it.
Now or after the call?
Well, after. What does it really matter if it was 42% or 58%? Does it really matter? It's a huge number.
In the sense that they're still recovering from the recession, so it's a convenient time for you to make the argument. In terms of maybe borderline most...
I'll argue that it's been going on for 20 years, okay? I'll argue the statistic has been fundamentally the same for the last 20 years.
Well, I do want to go back to the notion that orphanage criticisms, that I've made them as if they're no different from this generic red baiting, but I never once mentioned the Soviet Union or Mao or any of that crap.
Well, I know you didn't. I'm using that as a metaphor. I'm just using that as a comparison. As soon as you tell me that communal living does this to kids and does that to kids, I made it clear, okay? That's communal living as it's been done by people who did it wrong, okay? Yes, I think it can be done by people who do it right.
Okay, but at least you can see that criticism of governmental projects does not always have to stem from a McCarthyism mentality. So you must know that I don't have to be McCarthy to accept a long history of failed communal projects.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's... I think that sounds a little bit prejudgmental. That sounds sort of prejudice. So I guess I'd say that sounds like you're saying somehow there's an systemic problem that can't be overcome, and I don't buy it. I don't. If we can land on the moon, we can raise a kid. But whatever. I mean, I would like you to stay focused on what the point is. And the point is that right now, poor people are using their kids to extort society. Okay? They're using children as extortion weapons. They're saying, give me money or I'll make the kids suffer. And that's...
Give the kid money.